Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, and this is a bit of an extra show. Technically, it's a Patreon preview show. So, as part of the Patreon membership for the people, you get a monthly Q&A show, a monthly solo show, where you guys can just shoot in questions on whatever you want, ask questions on whatever you want, and away we kind of go with that. So this is like basically each month this would normally be on Patreon, but we're going to do it as a free Patreon preview here to let the people know. But it's basically like a monthly question and answer. But I think like Rodri's going to pop on later and going to have a good chat, and we'll probably end up talking about football like we normally do. So such is life. But there we go. Welcome to everyone. Obviously with these solo shows until Rodri pops in. Just send your questions in. That's what I want. Send your question in. He is going to pop in a bit, but at the moment it's just me. So send in your questions and whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about whatever you like, whatever you want to talk about. That's what we will talk about this evening. That's the point. So basically, as part of Patreon, you get a monthly question and answer show. You get a weekly podcast, The Boot and the Limp, which is an adult comedy podcast. The first two shows, the first one particularly was a belter. Last week's was pretty good. Barry was feeling a little bit under the weather, so he was a bit quieter than normal, but still a good one. And then every other week you also get, for I think it's for £5 Patreons and upwards, you get another show, which is The Glitch in the Matrix, which is like a paranormal and all that sort of show. And then obviously there's a couple of people who've signed up to the very, very top tier. So you've got, I'm not going to name them because they might not want to be named, but there's a couple of guys who I massively grateful to, who've signed up to that top tier. And part of the top tier per month, you get to come on a podcast of your choice, or do a podcast, with me, and talk about a subject of your choice. So I have told them they need to hit me up and let me know when they want to do that, what they want to talk about, etc., etc. Because I got some stuff going on at the moment. However, as you guys all know, this week got loads and loads of really good, cool stuff planned, interviews and stuff. I've had a real big spanner in the works for that this afternoon. I'm just waiting for some things to come back, and we'll see what happens with that. But some of that might have changed. I also changed the overlay. This overlay, I updated it all this afternoon, spent flipping ages doing it, and then forgot to upload it onto StreamYard. So we got the same old one. But there we go. Yes, Rob, you did give it away, mate. You did indeed. Welcome, Cade, Childs, Rob, Craig. Welcome all. Come and ask your questions, say hello, whatever it may be. Big shout out, by the way, to all the patrons as well who have signed up already. Appreciate you guys massively. We're into double figures with that as well, which is I can't explain how much of a massive help that is to me. Takes the pressure off a little bit, and hopefully people will see the content you get for it, the exclusive content and all that sort of stuff, the extra content, and also you get to support us for just a couple of quid per month. Not per week, not per day, per month. Basically the price of a pint. So yeah, it was a very good win for Middlesbrough, Leslie. You're right there, mate. The championship table is an interesting one, unless you're a Cardiff City fan. And then it is painful viewing, but very good result for Middlesbrough, very good result for Coventry. QPR, what a cracking result that was. Rob Boyle says, what do you think of all the games getting called off due to COVID, in inverted commas? Should teams be made to play? Well, let me tell you, I was not happy that the North London derby was off because I thought Arsenal absolutely took the piss out of that. The only reason Arsenal wanted that game called off was because they've got players injured and players away with the African Cup of Nations. Had nothing to do with COVID. They also fielded a full-strength under-23 side on Friday night. So there's no reason why they couldn't have fielded a team versus Tottenham on the Sunday. And also the rules with the COVID in the Premier League is supposed to be if you can field 13 players and a goalkeeper, then you play. if Arsenal could field a whole and full strength under 23 side on Friday, as far as I'm concerned, they can play. Leeds had a load of kids out on the weekend, Leslie, great point. Still beat West Ham. So as far as I'm concerned, Arsenal took the absolute piss, and I hope that's the end of it. I hope that is like the straw that broke the camel's back, and the Premier League says, you know what, get stuffed. Unless it's actually COVID related and you've got an outbreak, then get lost, because Burnley are trying to do it now, as Craig rightly mentions. It's I just find that, as is professional sport, is always the same, isn't it? Teams, players, athletes, they all try and every little advantage they want, they take, and they push and they push. And like the fact is, yes, you've got COVID and stuff, but a lot of these teams, it's because of the African Cup of Nations. They've got a couple of injuries and they're trying it on because they want to try and get it postponed for a week or two, get their players back, and then they can play a full strength side. It's embarrassing. Just suck it up, get it on with it. It's not even suck it up, because a lot of these teams, they haven't got like this big crisis that they're trying to make out. It's but Craig, so you say there's 13 players who've played for the first team. Arsenal might not have had 13 players who've played first team football, but I guarantee you they'd have had 13 players who a mixture of players who would have played for the first team and players on the brink of the first team. That's the point of having an academy. Other teams have been forced to do it numerous times this season, but because of the size of the club, the Premier League have kind of given Arsenal a bit of leeway, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And exactly kind of what I'm talking about as well is like you've got Burnley trying to do the same. Wouldn't be surprised if they get forced to play. And like this thing with Arsenal is they could have fielded a side good enough to compete with Tottenham. They chose not to, and I just think it's just leaving a bit of a sour taste. And where they're going to play all these games as well. Rob says he thinks the game should be pulled if you can prove that 8, for example, have got COVID positive tests. And that's what it should be. It should be about COVID tests. It shouldn't be about anything else, because that's what it was brought in for, was to protect against COVID outbreaks and things like that. Kelly says Aidan Flint off to Sunderland. I think it's a great move for Sunderland. I think it's a great signing for Sunderland. I think in League One, I think Aidan Flint is an excellent centre-back. I think he's a good Championship centre-back in many ways, but for Sunderland, I think that's a great signing if they can pull that off and if it goes through, because it's a great signing. I think that really strengthens their defence, something which they'll be looking to do, right at the... I don't necessarily think he'll go. I think Cardiff would be silly to let him go with the size of the squad that Cardiff have got. They haven't got enough depth in it as it is. And I think Aidan Flint on his day can do a good job. But from a Sunderland point of view, I think it would be a cracking signing. I really think that strengthens their defence. Just going to have a look. They're second in the league. It's so tight up there, right down to sort of 4th, 5th. Milton Keynes Dons on 46 at 5th place. And then you've got Wickham in 5th top with 52. It's so tight. And like those clean sheets could really, really help Sunderland out. So they played Accrington on the weekend and drew. Just going to have a quick look at their lineup and see who they played in defence. So we've got Sunderland defence. You've got Flanagan, Doyle, Kirkin, right. Yeah, see, Aidan Flint walks into that central defence, or at least the central defence that they played on the weekend. He walks into that, and I think it's a great signing. I think it would be a mistake for Cardiff City to sell Aidan Flint in January. They're going to sell him. They've got to sell him at the end of the season and replace him, which is part of the problem that Cardiff have had over the last couple of years. They've sold players, probably the right players that should have been sold in some ways. I think, like, for instance, Junior Hoylett, it was the right time for him to leave. Didn't replace him, though. Some people would argue with Bennett, should he have stayed? Should he have been offered a new contract? The fact with Bennett was, yes, he's a great fullback, and he probably, from a football point of view, we needed him to stay. But from a wages point of view, he didn't supposedly want to take a cut. So you got to make a decision. He's on a lot of money. He was on Premier League wages. And yeah, I can kind of, whilst it was disappointing to not be able to keep him, I understand that. Aidan Flint out at the contract at the end of the season. He might be. I'll have a double little check on that now. But if he is out of contract in the summer and he's not going to sign, or we're not going to offer him a new contract, then of course you may as well sell him, because it seems like pointless keeping him, just to let him go on a free when you might be able to get a bit of cash for him. If he's not going to sign, if we don't want to keep him, or he's not going to sign a new contract, then you may as well get rid of him. Unfortunately, well, saying that, I take that back. It depends how much cash you're going to get for him. If it's going to be like a literal piffling amount, which makes absolutely no difference to anyone, then I would say keep him. Because they need the numbers. We haven't got enough players as it is. And I would say keep him, let him go on a free. If it's going to be a semi-decent amount, which is going to be then put onto other players or loans, then maybe keep him. But that's a decision which obviously have to be made by the football club. Be a shame though, because I actually think he's a decent centre half. Craig says, I think every team have done it, so there will be a change of the rules soon. Players, managers will argue not robots, and not just time off for COVID period, but the recovery, the fitness. Not saying I agree, but that's the argument that will come. Yeah, and there is a little bit of truth to it. But you can see already this season that teams have taken the mick with it. And the problem is, and this is what I think these managers need to understand, is if you're going to push it and you are going to abuse the rule, then you've got to understand that they're going to change the rules and they're going to switch things up and make it more difficult. So use the rule as it's supposed to be used and then go from there. So Derby got 30 grand for selling a player who's played 21 games this season. Yeah, like I would argue maybe Derby are in slightly worse position financially than Cardiff. Maybe not. But if say that was the fee for Aidan Flint, 30 grand in January, or let him go free in the summer, I'd let him go free in the summer. 30 grand is pointless. He can do more good for Cardiff than 30 grand can. Rob Bull says, how many games have been called off across the whole Football League compared to the Premier League? I wonder. Now, that would be an interesting stat for someone to Google. Derby might be looking for a new manager as well. You never know. Could Wayne Rooney be the next Derby manager? The next Everton manager? I actually don't think he will be, because I think if he was going to leave mid-season from Derby, he would have left already. I believe that he'll see out the season at the very least. I think, as a matter of pride, I think he would probably like to see out the season, see if we can keep him up, because that's going to be something on his resume. But it's going to be hard if Everton come calling. I cannot believe that Roberto Martinez is going to leave the Belgium job with the World Cup next year to go back to Everton, no matter how much he might love Everton or whatever and want to prove a point, and they've got money to spend. I can't believe that Roberto Martinez would do that. It just seems pointless. Who else was there linked with it? Rooney, Martinez, Graham Potter. I think, for me, Everton, they made a mistake with Rafa Benitez, but I understand why they put him in charge. If I was an Everton fan and I look at those names, so the names mentioned, Roberto Martinez, Duncan Ferguson, Rooney, Graham Potter, I've got to say, all of those names I would be okay with if I was an Everton fan, some more than others. If it was me, I would want Duncan Ferguson until the end of the season. Wayne Rooney from the summer probably would be my choice. Graham Potter, I think, is an outside chance, but I thought Ferguson did a good job. So when he was there before, and then you can have a look at it in the summer. There doesn't have to be a rush. And yeah, then Craig makes a good point there. He says, like, with the games being called off, how many teams have been fined over the years and this season and stuff like that for fielding understrength sides. And this was something which came up recently in the Middlesbrough-Blackpool game. Blackpool, yeah, I think it was Blackpool game, where Blackpool, I think, were trying to get the game called off, and the Middlesbrough fans remembered that they got relegated after they had a points deduction, I believe, because they fielded a understrength side versus Blackpool or something in the league, and then Middlesbrough got points deducted, got relegated from the Premier League. It's all, football fans. Blackburn, I do apologise. Thanks, Leslie. Football fans remember these things, don't they? Cade says, be interesting if you can get Peggy Sfrexiad on a podcast. Ex-Leicester goalkeeper. His Wikipedia is interesting. All right, okay. I'll have to have a look at that, mate. Not familiar. I'm not quite sure what's going on this week at the moment, unfortunately. But I do know that on Friday evening, I'm recording an episode of My Story with Joe Jacobson. I'm looking forward to that. It should be a good one. Indeed. Middlesbrough hold the shots with Derby. They want 45 million compensation. Mike Ashley is in talks with Steve Gibson, says Mr. Coates. Well, I wasn't want Mike Ashley anywhere near my club. When I said the same when he was linked with Cardiff. And I just think, Leslie, surely Middlesbrough fans don't want Mike Ashley to take over from Steve Gibson. Is that what you're saying? Because for me, Steve Gibson is one of the few good owners of football club owners. There's not many of them about. Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Monday, 7:45. He's an ex-Liverpool keeper. Okay. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Everton have got a lot of money free, a lot of money to spend. And I think if they can get the right manager, then they've got a good core to their squad. It's getting that selection right. And Rafa Benitez was not the correct selection. But I get why they kind of went for him. I can understand that fully. You look at his resume, you could have seen it. You wouldn't have been surprised if he had done a good job there. So yes, it would have been interesting. Right, he's after Mike Ashley to buy Derby. Got you. God, I can't imagine. Can you the financial trouble that they're in, the amount of debt that you'd have to take on? It seems weird that someone who was quite tight with his money when he was in charge of Newcastle is going to take on that amount of debt for a club that's fighting relegation in the Championship. But I suppose you never know. Maybe he sees them as a sleeping giant. Who knows? But please do drop a like on the video, all that good stuff. Send your questions in, all of that. Right. So Ashley is talking to Gibson to get them to drop the legal action against Derby. That's one of the stumbling blocks, like the Wickham case with them. Yeah, and I think Derby have got, correct me if I'm wrong, they've got a few different legal cases outstanding with different clubs for different things. It's difficult, isn't it? Leslie says any buyer who buys Derby needs to pay compensation to the team who went down and something about cost Middlesbrough promotion. It's tricky, isn't it? Derby's it's not just the on the pitch stuff with fighting the relegation and the debt. They got all sorts of different things going on, and it's tricky. What else happened on the weekend? Let's have a little look. Interesting stuff. Celtic 2-0 up. Let's have a look. Burnley request a postponement. Cameroon top the African Cup of Nations with a draw. I saw a goalkeeper from the African Cup of Nations make an absolute terrible attempt at a save. We saw that dodgy ref. Donna says apparently we might be having Giles back, and that Tommy was training with us today. We're bound to beat Peterborough at home today now. I'm not so sure about that, but at least they're getting some bodies in. That Tommy Doyle from Arsenal, I think it is, isn't it? On loan for Cardiff is supposed to be a very good striker, good finisher, which is what they need. Getting Giles back would be vital because he was the only one who was doing anything remotely creative in terms of putting the ball in the box. And Man City, is it? I apologise. Not Arsenal. Craig says Derby's legal cases are bigger than Cardiff's. And when you think about that, when you genuinely think about that, that is some amount of problem for a new owner. Like Cardiff's legal cases, you wouldn't want to take them on. But Jesus, if Derby's worse, yes, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. Who impressed you over the weekend in the world of football? I thought interesting. I'm going to put something to Rodri in a bit about Mason Greenwood, but I'll save that. I thought Man City are like coasting their way to the Premier League. Like, give it to them now, as far as I'm concerned, because no one's going to catch them. I thought Wolves played particularly well against Southampton. Wolves got a good little side. I still not having Traore, bit of a one-trick pony, but he does keep scoring, and Wolves doing very, very well. Like, when you look at the table, West Ham in 4th, even though they lost. You got Wolves right behind United, Brighton, Leicester back in 10th, Villa in 13th, Brentford comfortable in 14th. Really think that's great stuff. Yeah, you're right, Donna. Luton had a fantastic result against Bournemouth. I did not see that coming. Bournemouth have been very, very good. And Luton been good for a couple of seasons. Like, they've been really steady and impressive. They have some really good performances, particularly at home. But I thought it was an excellent performance to get a result at Bournemouth. I didn't see it coming. Donna says, do we think Rooney's going to Everton? So we did talk about that a little bit. Like, I just don't see it, unless the only way I see it is if Duncan Ferguson does the end of the season and then Rooney takes over in the summer. I do not see Rooney leaving Derby now to go to Everton now. That would be my mid-season, because if he was going to leave mid-season, could have left already with no problem. And also, I feel like if he keeps him up, it's a massive feather in his cap. It's a massive achievement for him to keep him up and goes on his resume. So I think I think it's unlikely that Rooney leaves before the end of the season. So I think Duncan Ferguson till the summer, and then if they want Rooney, then he'll go then. I wanted to try to check the name of the Luton player. There was a lad in midfield who I watched, and he was phenomenal for Luton. I'm not sure which one it was, if it was Clark or Campbell. I think it was Clark. Cameron Jerome. What a man, what a player. What a player still. He's got to be about 40 now, isn't he? Coutinho impressed. Best way for Rodri for that. Yeah, we'll talk about Aston Villa and United, but he was good, and I thought he was he kind of instigated Villa's comeback. But Leslie says, who's your 3 to go down in the Premier League and the Championship? Okay, so in the Championship, my 3 to go down would be so it kind of changes from week to week. If you're asking me today, I'm saying Barnsley, Reading. No, I'm saying Barnsley, Hull. No, not Hull. Barnsley, Reading, and then any one of Peterborough, Cardiff, and Hull, to be honest with you. They would probably be my 3 from the Championship to go down. And then let's have a look at the Premier League. The Premier League table, 3 to go down. I'm saying Burnley. I'm saying No, Newcastle are not looking comfortable there. But I think Burnley, Norwich, and Watford would probably be my three. I just can't see Newcastle going down, but maybe. Cardiff, just if they can get Kiefer Moore scoring goals or Tommy Doyle scoring goals, then I think they'll be all right. But they've got to find a way to score some goals because they just not creating anything and generally just boring and not very good. Right, let's talk to the man himself about Villa and Manchester United on the weekend. Let's just take that off your face. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm alright. Just walked upstairs.
Up the stairs. So we were kind of just been talking about the Premier League and whatnot, but we've been saving the United and the Aston Villa chat till you came on because the guys in the chat were asking about your opinion on Coutinho, but also I wanted to put something to you about Mason Greenwood. I question his attitude, mate, big time, because he was fantastic at the start of the season, linked up well with Ronaldo, did really good. And then all of a sudden, Ronaldo was getting the blame for everything. And, he's this and he's that. And you saw Greenwood, his form suffered. He looks like he's sulking a little bit. As soon as Ronaldo's out the team, he suddenly is trying his best. Like you can see Greenwood visibly busting a gut for every ball. Did he have his best game? No, he didn't. Was he a little bit selfish sometimes? Yeah, he probably was. But I just question why wasn't he busting a gut to get to every ball when Ronaldo was in the side? Is there a link there? Like, it just seems like there's too many players in that team who are happy to let other people take the blame and they're kind of coasting. I saw someone in the chat saying about Rashford is really they got a problem with Rashford. But what do you think about Greenwood? Do you think there's anything wrong with his attitude this year? Or recently, should we say?
On my personal opinion, I think he's they're holding him back. He should be playing up front now. He's centre forward. He's not a winger. He's not a wide player. He's a centre forward. That's how he grew up playing, scoring goals. So maybe next year they're putting him back where because it's not doing him any favours now.
But they're playing two up front, aren't they? So why don't they play him and Ronaldo up front?
Well, because they've got two experienced players that do a good job up there and score goals.
Yeah, I suppose.
So if Ronaldo didn't come, you'd probably see Greenwood a lot more there. But obviously, with Ronaldo coming, he's probably put him back a year or so, and they've played him out there more. Rashford's just going through a bad spell. Yes, it didn't look it didn't look great the other day, but I just take that with a pinch of salt in a minute, and just seeing him at training, looks happy in training. So,
it does seem like he's got quite good people around him from the outside at least.
It's his brothers that look after him, so his family, innit? So they're going to have his best interests for that. Usually it's an agent, well, his agent is his brothers, so his brothers look after him. So he's got good people looking after him who he can trust. So yeah, it's just a strange one. It's everything's not going well. There's stories coming out of the camp. Are these real stories? Are they just press? So you just got to take it with a pinch of salt, some of it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And confidence is a big thing. Like, if Rashford gets a goal in the next game and then goes on a bit of a run, you'll see a different player. Same with Greenwood, same with anyone. They get a couple of goals and then all of a sudden they look a different player, different team, they look on form. But at the moment, they're just struggling a little bit. But I thought Aston Villa I thought they were excellent for the majority of the game. I've been so impressed with Steven Gerrard. Like we talked about when he was at Rangers, we talked about his potential to be a really good manager. And I still stand by that. I think it's difficult. It's very difficult to judge managers when they are at Rangers and Celtic because it's just not a realistic I don't know what the word is. It's very difficult, like to judge like where they are. But he's come into Villa. He's made them better. His signings have been superb, but he's made the players who were already there better. So that fair play to him. The Ramsey, who plays from the young boy, what a player he is. He looks really good. But Coutinho was the catalyst. He come off the bench, and you could see some of those young players. They got a lift from seeing such a big name come off the bench. Someone who's been there, done it, scored some massive goals in the world of football. So for those players to see someone like Coutinho coming off the bench was massive, massive for him. And I thought it was really good. I thought it was excellent. I thought Aston Villa generally were very good. Obviously, the keepers made a howler, which didn't help. From a United point of view, I thought Bruno looked a lot better on against Villa, but I just thought the Coutinho off the bench, mate, gave all those Villa players a lift, didn't he? Seeing someone of his quality come on when you're chasing down those when you're chasing down like a 2-0 lead or whatever, you see someone like Coutinho come on, makes a difference, doesn't it? Is you there? Is you there? Is you there? He's gone again. But yeah, so I'm going to go to some of these comments because they're all stacking up a bit. Yeah, well, the thing is, right, if someone had given you the choice as a Villa fan, would you get rid of Grealish for 100 million and bring in Coutinho? You'd snap their hand off. 100%. Grealish doing not a lot at Man City. So there was a question. Thoughts on Martial? Yeah, I had to wait for Rodri to get set up because I think that's a really interesting one, the Martial one. And I think it encompasses everything which we've been talking about in recent weeks. So someone just in the chat, mate, asked about the Martial thing. So the manager said Martial said he didn't want to play when he was asked to be in the squad because they were short on numbers. He came out the next day and said, no, I would never disrespect the fans, the players, etc. Someone's lying. Who is it?
Is he injured? If he's not injured, why is he not in the squad? Yeah, I don't think the manager's not going to say that without, I don't think the manager's going to say that unless it's true. So
it's needless to
going off the players' attitude and the players' demeanour. I believe the manager. So it's not good when it's going back and forth. You need to get this kid out as quickly as possible.
No one wants to pay his wages, mate, by the sounds of it. But the thing is,
it doesn't matter, mate. He's a bad egg, so if that means you've got to pay half his wages, you've got to pay half his wages. You've got to bite the bullet and get him out of the club because he's a bad egg. And they've got bad looks of it. They've got too many of them, too many whinge bags, too many babies. So yeah, get rid of him. There's going to be an exodus at the end of this season. People running out of contracts. So yeah,
I just think once you've got a player like that, mate, who's gone, their attitude or whatever, their eyes are on going somewhere else. You got to get them out as quick as possible because they turn other players with their incessant and they might even not mean to do it. Sometimes, in some cases, well, I don't know Anthony Martial, so I can't say if he's like that or if he's not. But even if he doesn't mean to be, if he's not happy, he's going to say it to his mates within the squad. I'm not happy, or I'm pissed off with this, or I'm pissed off with that. That spreads like a virus, whether you mean it to or not. And I just think there's, like you just said, there's too many of those kind of players, and then other players who just can't be asked, who are just happy to collect their money, and it's creating a problem for them. But I also think Villa deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the way they played in both games. But the game on Saturday particularly, I thought Villa were very, very good. They got some good young players. And that's what I was saying just before you got cut off there, was you could see those young players got a real lift when they look over to the substitutions being made by Gerrard, and someone of Coutinho's ilk was coming on. It gave them a visible lift. And when you've just scored in your chair, I think they were 2-1 up when he came up. 2-1 down when he came on. That's going to give you such a big lift when you're a young footballer. It's the equivalent of like a Ronaldo coming on, isn't it? When you've just, you're chasing a couple of goals with 10 minutes to come. But I think Villa deserved the point, honestly. United got problems. Thought Bruno was better on the weekend. I thought he looked more like himself in terms of his demeanour.
Yeah, it's a bad result. It's 2-0 up. Yes, they did do well, but you've got to change that flow and do something about it. Not do it when it's too late. So that's where I only think that I'll question. They was just too open, and they didn't need to be. They was 2-0 up with 15 minutes to go. Shut up shop. Put another body in midfield, or even put another centre midfielder. Centre half on. Maguire and Jones were on the bench, and that was the only disappointing thing because you could see Villa were in the ascendancy. So, it was a disappointing performance. But like you say, Villa did earn it in the end, and it was a tale of two halves. United were better in the first half. They just didn't follow it on in the second half, and then Villa got on top, and rightly so deserved the goal.
Do you know with that? It's weird when Phil Jones came back the other week, played an absolute blinder, and everyone was rightly happy for him, happy to see him back, looking like the player he was once hoped to be. And then he hasn't played since. And when they conceded that first goal, I was watching it thinking, bring him on, give him a bit of confidence and say to him, you're my guy now, mate. Go in there and make sure we don't let this slip.
And another body in there. That second goal doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. So it's all hindsight, but that's what you're paid to do.
Here's a couple of comments for you, mate. Leslie says, I don't believe the Ronaldo injury. Something's definitely happening behind the scenes. And then a couple of minutes later, Gaz, on a completely different platform, says Ronaldo's going, in my opinion, in the summer. He's not happy. Someone's trying to phone you, mate.
I don't believe that. Looking at the training sessions today, he's putting a picture of his winning team, his seven-a-side team. So I don't get that. I get when the manager says, let's leave you out this time because if you knock it again, it's going to put you back 3 weeks, give it another couple of days. And, that's why you've got a squad. He's 36, 37, so he's going to take longer to heal. So, it's just, this is what happens when you play for Manchester United and things aren't going well. I haven't seen it as much, but I know, when things aren't going well, stories are coming out. Where are these stories coming from? It's just people causing problems. This is why people say you need to stick together and just trust each other. And if you do trust each other, you'll get through it. But if you don't, then you'll see the cracks starting to appear. But I just don't believe these stories because it's Manchester United. When Manchester United's in the news, it gets traction, it gets noise, and it's always been the way. So. Yes, other teams get traction, but not as big, not as much as Manchester United. That's why they're the biggest club in the world because you look at the when you go through the tweets and the interactions of clubs over the year on Twitter. United's double anyone near. So it's always been the way since I was growing up.
And the thing is, that's why Fergie used to do that siege mentality type thing, wasn't they? Where he would just ban players from speaking to the media, or he would
ban reporters. He'd let them know.
Or he would just be like him and Roy Keane doing the interviews, and he would be like, they'd give you so little that it was just about the game. There was no speculation and nothing.
Because they know how these reporters work. They spin things. They stretch the truth. Or it's just how they operate. Yeah, and Ferguson didn't put up with it. He banned him. He didn't let him in the club. So. It's difficult these days because there's so many outlets and so many different ones. So, but you've still got to keep control of it.
Yeah, spot on. So Rob says it's just like everyday life. Surrounding yourself with negative people will have an impact on you and the other people. And I think, we've talked about that before, mate, haven't it? We've got no time for bullshit and sort of fake people. And I think it's the same concept, isn't it? That kind of thing spreads really quickly. So it's easy to go from having a decent changing room to having a squad which has suddenly got problems.
It takes one bad egg.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
United probably got a few, I think, as well, or at least a couple who were kind of
Well, not
feeding
necessarily
that
bad eggs,
negativity.
but they've got possibly, but they've got loads of players on big wages who they can't get rid of. That's a problem in itself because you can't bring other players in. So, and that's not down to the manager or anyone else. That's down to people upstairs. Who the hell is signing these players on and keeping these players on? It's Ed Woodward because he wants the resale value of Manchester United. It's just crap. It's just the way it's even run. Even in the news today, talking about McGlynn from Aston Villa. No, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but come on, this is what's good. This is what's happening. We're buying second rate. Well, not second rate because that's a bit harsh, but not top quality players who we need in the middle of the park. McGlynn's a very good player, but we've got 5 of them players already.
But the thing is, though, right? I would argue John McGinn, is he better than Scott McTominay? Probably not. I think they're probably on a level. Is he better than Declan Rice? No, he's absolutely not. Is he better than Calvin Phillips? Probably not. But
Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
All these young up-and-coming centre midfielders. Declan Rice.
And then you've got
Declan Rice, to me, is absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because he's ready.
They just don't want to pay that money in January, mate.
He's going to have him for the next 10 years and he's ready. He's a full midfielder.
Well, to me, he's the sort of player you do pay 100 million for because he'll be there for 10 years. Whereas,
if you're a businessman, you go, you know what, Jesse, you've had a good time there. Let's do a little option. You've got a year left. You're probably going to be on your way. Let's, 20 million and Declan Rice, and we'll get, or 40, 50 million and Jesse Lingard for Declan Rice. They could have been.
That's what they should have done when he was on loan at West Ham, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As soon as that season finished, they should have done some sort of deal.
Yeah, you could have done something there, but knowing that we need a central midfielder, but no, we get Varane, we get 75, 80 million to sit on the bench. Great, well done.
I mean, they would link with that Haidara again from I think it's the Bundesliga. Unless you watch the Bundesliga every week, you're not going to know that if he's definitely a good player. I would think Ralph Rangnick will have a good idea of those sorts of players from Germany and Russia, and maybe he will pull out a bit of a bit of a shocker. But it's difficult to see. Yeah, for me, United should have signed Declan Rice when Jesse Lingard was on loan at West Ham. That was the chance to make that deal happen because Jesse Lingard had a couple of years or 18 months on his deal. So you offer him plus, whatever, 40, 50 million. But, it is what it is. Did Rodri just come from United's training session? It's cold in Manny. It's cold in Manny. It's cold in Manny. So we're going to wrap up in just a second because we've done 45 minutes already. That's flown by. So if you've got any questions, get them in. Gavin, you are right, mate. You did say that Steven Gerrard would do well. I give you credit for that. I think Craig says, I think Rashford's similar to Walcott. Came through really quick. Great season. Moved to different positions. Now he's not performing in that position, so he's added that pressure. Same with Ramsey when he was moved out wide for Arsenal. Yeah, I can see that there's an element of that. But then my argument with Rashford is he's played in all those different positions and he's done well for United. It just seems like there's something going on. So Craig just said in the chat, mate, kind of compared Rashford's situation to what happened to Theo Walcott, where he's burst on the scene, scored a few goals, then had a good season the next season, but then the following season, because of sign-ins and whatever, has kind of been shunted about and moved to different positions. So he hasn't really been able to settle into just one position. Do you think there's anything to that? Or do you, like for me, because he's played well off the left, he's done well off the right, he's done well going through the middle, I don't see that as the issue. I think the issue is more likely that maybe there's nothing going on. Maybe it's just a confidence thing. But I don't know if the position would necessarily be the issue. Because he won very good for England in the Euros. He's off the bench either, was he?
Yeah, he's just, people go through bad form. Or
Human beings, mate.
Pardon?
Human beings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, it happens. I remember, Ryan through his 20-odd year career, for 2 years, the fans were complaining, moaning, they wanted him out. So, but they don't realise what they've got until it's gone. And
Yeah.
so it happens. Theo Walcott, it's a bit harsh that. Theo Walcott come on the scene at 16 and didn't get a sniff. Marcus Rashford come on the scene, scored 2 goals in the Europa League in his debut, 2 goals against Arsenal, had a very good 2 or 3 years. He's having a bad spell. That's it. He's been out for a long time. He's come back. Doesn't look happy. He's expressed that he loves the club, so there's nothing wrong there. It's just he's going through a bad spell, and I don't know. It's difficult because he is a good centre forward, but he can't do certain things. So it's but the Theo Walcott is a bit harsh.
He's also been. I think he was quite close to Solskjaer as well, wasn't he? So new manager.
Yeah, stuff like that. You're professional. You've got to get on with it. That can't be an excuse. So,
yeah, no, I don't necessarily mean it as like an excuse, but more of a reason why there's something not quite right. Maybe he hasn't clicked with the new manager.
You're looking for excuses. We're looking for excuses. It could be a number of things, but my guess in it is he's just going through bad form, and it happens. Confidence low. It's if you're.
Everyone has bad days, mate, don't they? And bad
you're
weeks.
You're not confident doing your job properly, then it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're going through one of those tough spells, like you're going into work each day and you're not enjoying it, or like you're not at top form, it's going to affect you further, innit? And it goes, and it's a bit of a vicious circle. But then all of a sudden, he'll hit one from the edge of the box, and it'll fly in the top corner, and then all's forgotten, and you're back to where you were.
It's just that the body language. It doesn't look good. That's all. That's all. It's just the body language. And you're at Manchester United. You're at your hometown. Why are you so grim? Why do you look so grim? That's what people are questioning. You're a young lad at the prime of your life.
Dream job.
Why are you so miserable? You look like someone's died. You're on a football pitch playing at Old Trafford in front of 75,000 people. What is going on? Can you see the problem? Like people asking what's going on. Then they go to the bench and then you're like this.
Yeah.
So, what do you expect people to think? He's giving off that persona. No one else.
And funny enough, do you know my boy had a bit of a bad game on Saturday, and his head dropped, and he was like sulking about a bit because he'd misplaced a couple of passes. And I said to him after, I said, mate, everybody has a bad day. They played a really good team. And I said, everyone has a bad day, mate. Sometimes you just come up against teams which are very, very good. But what you've got to do is when you have those days and you come up against those teams, you've got to work harder than anyone else. And I just said, did you work as hard as you could? And he was like, no, I probably did. And I let my head go down or whatever. But that's like, I'm saying that to a 12-year-old. Like a professional footballer who's come through the system at United shouldn't need to be told that your body language is, come on, get your head up and keep going. Keep trying, keep running about, keep putting the pressure on. It's it's a bizarre one, mate. But just to kind of wrap us up on that, Cade wants to know Brentford versus United score prediction. You're muted, mate.
Brentford versus is that at Old Trafford?
I'll just check now. I'm on their page. Do some, because I thought Brentford have been excellent this season, and they obviously Liverpool swept them aside a little bit, but let's have a look. No, it's at Brentford on Wednesday.
That'd be a very difficult match. That I'd go for.
It is very difficult, mate.
Yeah, it's a difficult match because they play well there. It seems to get bouncing there. So I'd go for a high-scoring game now. Probably 4-2, 3-2. Either way.
Okay. I think it's a draw, mate. Yeah, I think a draw. Or like you say.
I reckon it's going to be a load of goals. And it could be either one. It could go either way.
Good shout, mate. Leslie says Blackburn versus Middlesbrough prediction. That is going to be a good game. And I think I'm going to go with Blackburn 2-0. Right, guys, last chance now to send in any questions you've got because we're going to be wrapping up shortly. Done about 50 minutes. But these sort of question and answer free-for-alls, there's a monthly one on Patreon. If you sign up to Patreon, you get the monthly question and answer shows, which are different. As we get more subscribers, they'll become more frequent. You get the weekly, every Wednesday, the Boot and the Limp, quality adult comedy podcast, if I do say so myself. Then we've also got every other week we have the Glitch in the Matrix, paranormal, ghost stories, whatever it may be. We talk about all sort of that sort of stuff. That was quite fun, something different. You also get the My Story episodes a day early. You get some behind the scenes videos are going to be coming from the studio shows. You get news about some of the studio shows which are coming up before other people get them. So like the Patreons will know some of the stuff that's happening and coming, which hasn't been announced. And yeah, Cade says the show with Barry is excellent. It is, yeah. You're muted, mate. Yeah. Having a few issues, mate, for your connection tonight, you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you know what? I made me to meet a guy, so I don't have any of these problems anymore. So I'm going off my phone, and he's meeting me. I'm meeting in about 5-10 minutes. So after today, like you say, I'll be
set up and ready to go. Nice. Craig says, what do you think of Rabbi Matondo on fire in Belgium? He is. What a player he is, by the way. Rabbi Matondo, I think, has got the world at his feet from a future point of view. I can really see him getting somewhere, doing some good stuff, Rabbi Matondo. And I think he can be a big plus for Wales in the World Cup, mate. Obviously, he plays as a winger, doing very, very well at the moment. He's played 30-odd games this season for Schalke. So I think if he can keep up that form, that's going to be good for Wales, ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, mate, all I can hear is a load of cracking. I'm just having bad connection and I'm just seeing like I'm moving. If you want to say it, mate. All
right, mate. Yeah, no, Rabbi Matondo, mate, is just been doing really, really well. Yeah. You're all crackly now, mate. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm wrapping up now, mate. Anyway, Borough prediction. He's having some issues. He's got someone coming in now to sort his studio out once and for all. Right, guys, please do check out that Patreon and the members only stuff. I'm trying to put up as much news and rewards and additional content on there to obviously make it worthwhile. There's loads of stuff on there, and the more people who sign up to that, it's just going to make everything better, better quality, better shows, more guests, everything. It moves everything along quicker. Price of a pint per month, but makes a massive, massive difference to me personally, as I try to get so I'm not losing money each month on the podcast. And please do check out our sponsors and brand partners. You can go to Manscaped, get 20% off, free shipping, use the code AceNation. If you go to expressvpn.com/AceNationArmy, you can get up to, I think it's like 50% off with the ExpressVPN. We've got some other brand partners and sponsors coming as well. So please do check them out and have a look. The VPN one particularly, ExpressVPN is absolutely top draw. And what I like about it is it's really quick, doesn't slow your device down, and it's easy to use. You could just switch from country to country. Nice and easy. Leslie, I'm afraid Blackburn be doing really well, mate. So I think it's going to be a difficult one for the Borough. But take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Patrons, don't forget, Wednesday, the Boot and the Limp. But tomorrow on the main channel, we have the new episode of My Story with Michael Olajide. He's a former championship boxer, A-list celebrity trainer. He's trained literally some of the biggest names in Hollywood, your Chris Hemsworths and people like this, to get ready for movie roles. It was a fascinating episode on My Story. Really looking forward to putting that out. That's out tomorrow, Tuesday, 7:30 on the YouTube channel and podcast platforms. So check that out. Wednesday, the Boot and the Limp. Thursday, Roger Giggs on football. Away we go, man. Guten Tag. Thank you for joining me. Nice one, people. Appreciate it. Spread the word and be safe.